Welcome for round one of Salty Takeaways and Bitter Ends. And there are some of the former, not so much of the latter. It is John, it is Nick for the immediate post-match reaction for the 2-2 draw for Atlanta United in Nashville against Nashville SC. And Nick, there are about 38 gazillion talking points here. Where do you want to start?
Start the kids. That's my immediate take. We've had a lot of conversations this season about draws that felt like wins, draws that felt like losses, draws that just felt like a draw, and this is a draw that felt like a win for several reasons. You have a player like Jackson Conway, who comes on as an immediate spark. He's get the goal. Not just that, his work rate was phenomenal. I mean, he was mixing it up with guys. He was, especially when you go down a man, and then you are, which we'll get to that later. But his work rate down a man, it never looked like Atlanta was down a man, and that says something. That says about the belief in the team. That says about this general team spirit, but also the work rate. It says a lot about the work that's been put in that we don't see on the training ground, paying off on game day. You see Jackson Conway out there busting his butt. He's chasing down. He almost had an opportunity at the very end, which would have been just icing on the cake. But Machop Chol, I thought, there were times where he kind of disappeared for a little bit, but then he came through in the clutch with an absolutely game-saving tackle, in my opinion, that would have set up Nashville. Otherwise, if Nashville had retrieved that ball, they would have had a counter almost directly on the goal. Very dangerous position for Alacan and the defense that was really piecemeal together. But Machop Chol came in, he got that timely tackle, and it just, again, play the kids. Play the kids. Right now, when you have all these players out for international duty or injuries, I read the timeline just like everyone else does. Everyone's like, oh, well, here we go. Let's just hope we can. And look, it was justified, man. After team's out, oh, well, let's see what happens. Well, something good happened. And you had one moment of buffoonery that really changed the game with Kubo Torres' the hand of God.
That was referenced on the timeline too.
Right. So, look, as much as we've praised Kubo Torres for his work rate, the lack of goals, obviously the ball, he's just not a striker who's confident right now. But then you have a brain lapse like that. We have to talk about it. The brain lapse. I don't know if he believed it. To me, what it looked like is he was not sure about where Alec Cam was and just did the hand of God. And you can't do that with VAR. It's stupid. You can't do that with VAR. You have to trust that your keeper's back there. You have to trust that, there are other defenders around you. And I understand that he's a striker and that's not his natural position to be that, probably that far back. I'm sure they've worked on it, with the training ground and so forth, but you got to trust the defense, man. And to do something mind-bendingly buffoonish like that was just absurd in my book. And he knows it. He knew it walking off the field when he was subbed out. He knew it. But if anything, it shows me it's Jackson Conway's time. We see this in the NFL all the time. You may have a quarterback who is just, just out there chugging along. But you throw enough interceptions, and it's time to put the kid in and see what the kid can do. And I think that's where Atlanta United is now with Jackson Conway. I know people have been screaming for him for a long time. But he was on the stage and he showed up. So Gabriel Heinze has choices now. And for Jackson Conway, that's the best thing you can do in his position is make the manager think a lot. So, and let's also talk about Anton Walks for a minute, man. Good Lord. Handed the captain's armband. And this is something I saw in the military a lot. You had guys that you would never have picked for leadership material. But just talking to him, being around, you're like, man, that guy, I don't know if that guy's a leader or not. But then when they were put in the leadership position, they excelled. There's that little bit of leadership, that bit of freedom to say, hey, look, man, I'm going to make this my own while I have it. And they excel. You saw that tonight, something very similar with Anton Walker. Look, in 2017, there were not many people who said, yep, that guy's going to have a captain's armband before too long. And he did it tonight. And he stepped up to the plate. He marshaled that back line. He put the first ball in the back of the net. He did everything a leader had to do. And look, keep him in the rotation, man. Keep him in the rotation for that captaincy because he's earned it. He's a guy who's been here since season 1. He knows this organization. He knows this fan base. He's tied to the city. So, keep him in the rotation. I see nothing wrong with that. That's the positives and one obvious blemish there. But go ahead, John. I know we're getting to. I'm just ready for it. Let's go.
I know. Okay. So from the points that you've discussed, yes, on the timeline, folks are saying that it's time for some Action Jackson up there instead of Kubo Torres out of the blocks. And yes, it was even referenced as a hand of God moment at times in the timeline as well. Anton walks to go into what you were discussing with Anton. There was that moment where there was another set piece for Nashville, and it was in a string of set pieces and offensive push for them. And there was one cutaway that I noticed on the broadcast on the TV side where Anton is making sure, and I want to say it was Marcelino Moreno, to make sure that Marcelino kept his head up. And he was, you had that kind of a moment from Anton Walks as well. So, I think that it was well earned to see Anton, who apparently didn't find out that he was going to be wearing the armband until he got to the stadium. And he has shown that leadership and the growth out of the back. And so we've seen it with him wearing the captain's armband. Now, all right, here we go. And a programming note, Jarrett and I will discuss it in the morning, and we will also have SDH PM tomorrow once Jason and Mike and Miller have returned from Nashville. You know that there's going to be a moment where Atlanta United is going to knock on the door of the front office of Major League Soccer and sit there and go, yeah, we'd like to appeal something, please.
Yeah, the red card.
Oy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, if that's a legitimate red card, I'm a North Korean fighter pilot. So let's just go ahead and get that out. The tackle was clean. And I'm not saying that as look, we all know, if you listen to the show, I gravitate toward defense. I love solid defense. I love bone-crunching tackles. I love it all. I'm not saying this is a clean tackle for 1987. I'm saying it's a clean tackle for today. He got the ball. He got all the ball. And the attacking player went into him as he was getting the ball. Absolutely 100% challenge this. And, will Pro overturn it? Will the league overturn it? I don't know. Because they may back their people and say, oh, well, we called on the field, called in VAR. Yep.
Well, here's what Pro said. Doug Robertson of the AJC has the response from Pro on the explanation for the red card. Quote, Jake Mulroney committed a foul by tackling the opponent, denying him an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. The VAR checked the incident and did not identify a clear and obvious error, end quote.
Right. So let's do some looks on that, because in my opinion, it's, when I say my opinion, I mean anybody who's not a lobotomized gerbil looks at this and watches it time and time again. This is not like the Zapruder film and we're looking for the second gunman on the grassy knoll. It's very clear. Rennie comes in. He arrives at the ball first. His foot hits it. The Nashville player hits him.
Yeah, I think it was Leal. Leal, I think, was the player who was involved.
Hits him almost simultaneously as the foot makes contact with the ball. Then he does what every attacking player in that situation should do, which is throw yourself to the ground like you've been shot. So the ref calls it. Obviously, they don't have the camera from behind the goal looking at this. I think that would have been perfect. that would have been the perfect angle to see. But if you look at that and you say it's I'm telling you, you're a lobotomized gerbil. If you look at or a Nashville SC fan, if you look at this and say, yep, 100% red car, straight red. There's no way in the world that was a straight red.
Mm-mm.
You want to give me a yellow card.
And Sosa was in the vicinity too, so he wasn't last man there.
Right. So if you want to give me a yellow card and say, okay, look, the tackle was rough. This is recreational Sunday league ball, and we're all going to be good buddies. Tell me you're playing a different league. But if it's Major League Soccer, that is, I don't even think that should be carded. I think it was a clean tackle. But MLS is going to MLS. And as I've said it before, the officials in this league are a menace. And we could talk about TV deals with the league. We could talk about how fans can interact and watch games and behind paywalls. That's fine, and it's a perfectly justifiable conversation to have. But if I am a creative player and I'm watching this league as a potential destination, I'm looking at these officials and I'm saying there's no way in the world I'm trusting my body and my career to these officials. There's no way I'm doing that. Because if you're a defender and you're trying to make your bones on clean sheets and that stupidity happens, what we saw tonight, what happens? Nope. Straight red. Now I'm going to miss a game too. No thanks. These refs have no clue what they're doing. In Argentina, that's not a red. In Brazil, that's not a red. In Italy, that's not a red. In England, that's not a red. In MLS, for some reason, it's a red and verified on VAR. It blows my mind. The officials in this league blow my mind. And if you don't want to change your mind because you made your call, that's fine. I get it. But it was a terrible, terrible, terrible call. And unfortunately, Atlanta paid the price for it. I really hope. I have no doubt they're going to challenge this. But good luck, man. If that's a straight red, what sport are we playing? Just tell me that we're at a daycare center and you don't want the 3-year-olds to hurt each other. Tell me it's the soccer shots after school program, because this is professionals, and sometimes those bodies collide. And Mulroney was there first. He got the ball cleanly, and you're just mad because you made the wrong call and you don't want to back it up. That's fine. That's cool. I understand. But if you think it's a red, you're a lobotomized gerbil. I'm standing by that.
All right. So for the remainder of your time, and I know that your time is hyper valuable. So what we'll do is we will dive in for round one of what folks are saying on Twitter. And once again, programming reminder, Jarrett and I will take a step back from tonight, have a little bit of a bit of a breakfast, and we'll do a brunch version of this, and then we'll have SDH PM tomorrow once Jason, Mike, and the master of everything electronic, Miller Pope, returns safely from Nashville. SDH is PM tomorrow. Jarrett and I will do a brunch. That's why Nick and I are doing the instant reaction here. Just add water, and this is where we are here in the microwave. So, ropes. Tyler Wolff, you mentioned the younger players. We talked about Action Jackson. We talked about Machop Chol. Tyler Wolff put in a shift. Great things ahead for this young man. That's from ropes tonight.
Yep. Yeah. 4 homegrown players on the field tonight. That's what you want to see out of a league like this, where you're trying to develop players and you're trying to make these spots, these roster spots count, and you're trying to make your GAM, TAM, and WHAM and whatever else count, DP slots count. When you have 4 game-changing homegrowns on the field, same time, that's something. That is what we've been talking about with this academy system building up. And people are like, oh, well, we're not seeing enough product coming through. Buddy, it's for tonight. It takes time to have an academy. You have players who you think are going to be stratospheric players come through, and they fizzle out, right? That rocket doesn't quite get to second stage, and the rocket fizzles out. So then you have your next crop to come up, and it's more refined. We've refined the process now. And each crop after that, we're refining the process more to identify those key markers that say this person is going to reach X amount of success. And we're seeing that now with 4 homegrowns on the field. Yes, there were issues that necessitated this move. However, now you see Wolf put in a shift. You saw Campbell put in a shift. You see Conway putting in a shift. It's great to see these guys make this happen, and as we go on and we become more of a full strength roster, those kids aren't going to lose their seats, man. You may see 1 or 2 drop down to the 2s just for minutes to keep them fresh, but they're going to find spots on that bench. And before you know it, you're going to see some high dollar players maybe move on. Some of these younger guys slot in. You're going to have a lot more cap room to play with. And that's the key thing here. You want to have consistent, sustained success, managing your budget the appropriate way, making the right signings, but most importantly, have that backstop with a fantastic academy. And it looks like that's what's happening here.
Abby is in. OMG, the reffing in this Atlanta United game is horrendous. We'll probably get another sorry from Pro, but how this team stepped up down a player, thumbs up emoji. Lots to discuss across SDH and the Twitch pitch. Abby is not wrong on both counts on the reffing and how the team stepped up down a man to add to the 4 homegrowns that were out there at that given time.
Yeah, and look, there will be people who will subtweet me and they sunshine pumper and all this, and that's fine, man. Go for it. But look at the effort that was put forth tonight after Torres does the hand of God in front of our own goal. There are a lot of teams. The 2020 Atlanta United team, MLS is back, probably would have collapsed. It probably would have been like a true like 3-1 game where Nashville walks away easily. When we talk about, and what we've been talking about consistently on this show and on the other fine shows of the SDH universe.
There you go.
What we are talking about is yes, we understand the frustration with the results. You want more shots on goal. People are showing me heat maps and they're showing me passing diagrams and how there's a huge hole up front. Justifiable, understand. But the players are seeing something on the training pitch. They're hearing stuff from Heinze that is telling them this is something we can believe in. It's something we can build with. Because and look at what Toronto did to Chris Armas. And that's a team that got their manager fired. That's a team that went out and said, we're going to stink up the joint until this guy's gone. And then we can get somebody who suits our skill set more. You don't see any of that out of this team. You see a team that's really, they are putting in the shifts. They're putting in the work. They're not backing down, even when faced with tremendous adversity. Numbers of players out, stupid penalty given away, stupid red card given. They're still fighting. And no, the results aren't what I want right now, but I like the fight that I see on the field. I like the fact that we almost had a goal-scoring opportunity at the very end, down a man. That says something. And so you can either get on board or not, and that's fine, man. You make your choices, right? But in my opinion, I like what I saw with the fight tonight. I think that's a very good point.
Daniel Price is in. The saltiest takeaway, MLS needs better refs, a point that you made earlier in the show. And Daniel also says they need to remember that VAR exists.
Well, VAR needs to, remember that they can look at a replay more than once and look at it while wearing their prescription lenses and look at it while they're not being, surfing Twitter or swiping left or right or whatever they're doing, because I don't know what they were looking at. I mean, maybe they saw some, maybe they saw some hot trending topic on Twitter, saw somebody, maybe they got an email from some prince trying to offer them, tax-free money or something. I don't know. They were watching something that did not include multiple replays of that tackle. So, I wish them the best. I really hope that they get their prescription lenses checked out. If they don't wear prescription lenses, there's I'm sure a wonderful optometrist in their hometown who will be willing to help them.
So you're saying maybe Lens Crafters or America's Best could help them out?
No. They're in need of something much more substantial. They need like custom lenses, like the ones that, like the Coke bottle ones, where the eyeball looks like it's 4.5 feet across in each lens. They need those things, because what I saw tonight.
Oh, like Bubbles from the Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah. They need something substantial. They like the Hubble Space Telescopes hooked to the faces of VAR, because that tonight was the most. I've seen some really wacky calls from MLS officials and VAR, but this might take it to the top.
All right, so last one here for Salty Takeaways PM to get everybody ready for marinating and ruminating before we do Salty Takeaways AM with Jarrett. David, at Who Took My Thrash. I love the fight, even down a man, salty about that red/lack of VAR, but Chol and Conway caused some chaos with Marcelino Moreno leading the charge forward. Lots of new fun faces.
Right. I really like the interaction that Moreno had with Chol and Conway. It just looked like he freed himself up. Like he sort of took that weight off of himself, and it looked like the passing was far more incisive. It felt like there's a little bit of confidence there. Now, whether that was because he felt like he could take on more of a leadership personality with those guys on the field. Obviously these are younger kids, so he says, okay, look, I might have to direct traffic a bit more because they're a bit younger. Maybe that works. Maybe he needs to have that. Okay, look, I'm gonna be more of the orchestrator, and that orchestrator role maybe kicked up a couple of a couple of dials on the old volume knob, take it to 11. If maybe that works for him more. And this is a growth moment for him. Yeah, if it is, I'm 100% A-okay with it. But I really like that interaction up top. Yes, Moreno. Look, man. As much as we give Philadelphia grief, we were trying to hold on to a result. Moreno was like doing, track falls like he was in a kung fu movie or something, man. He was hitting the ground like every 27 seconds, and it was like, all right, look, he should have had a free kick at the top of the 18, but because he had hit the ground 27 times before that, he was not getting that call, and that's fine. But outside of that, I love the connectivity between those three, and I really want to see that again in the next game. I really want to see that. Give me that same grouping and let me see what can happen here with Moreno taking on more of an orchestrator role with the energy of Chol and the Chop Chol and with Jackson Conway. I really want to see that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun if they can make that click.
That's your instant reaction. Salty Takeaways PM after the 2-2 draw with Atlanta and Nashville. A lot of talking points. We've kind of scratched the surface here a little bit. We'll have more with Jarrett in the morning. Reminder, SDH is in the PM with Jason, Mike, and Miller Pope returning from Nashville. So we'll kind of do things in a couple of different ways and episodes here to kind of get everybody geared toward SDH PM on your Friday afternoon. Nick, send us home.
Till next time, everybody. Mucha plate, y'all. Forza Zuri.